Hey there friends, how's it going? Welcome back to my practical music theory course, and in today's video I want to touch briefly on major chords versus minor chords, talk about what the difference is between these two types of chords, how they're built, and give you some sort of must-know or recommend that you know concepts when it comes to playing guitar and you're learning your major chords, you're learning your minor chords. I just want to make sure you understand what the difference is and how these chords are formed. All right, so first up, as far as the technical difference between a major chord and a minor chord, three notes are what we need to get a major chord or a minor chord, okay? So from any starting note, that's gonna be called our root note. Let's use C as an example, right? So this is gonna be based on the note C. C is our root. Now, to get a major chord, you're gonna add a major third to your root note, okay? So what that means is we have our root. Now a major third is a note that's going to be 4 notes away from your root note. So we have our root note, and if we count up 4 notes, we're going to get E. And if we play those two notes together, C and E, we have what's called a major third, right? Now, if we were to only go 3 notes, we would get a minor third. And this is something on a piano especially, it's so easy to play 2 notes together. You can hear the difference as far as the happy cheeriness of the major third versus the sort of sad somberness of the minor third. Now, what's missing from both of these is the perfect fifth, right? This is going to be 7 notes away from our root, okay? So that's C to G if we're in the key of C. If C is our root, we would add G to get the perfect fifth. And to get the major chord, C major, we would have C, E, and G, right? That's our root, our major third, and our perfect fifth. You play them together, you get a C major chord. Now a C minor chord, the only difference is that major third is gonna be a minor third. So it's gonna be C, E flat, and G. Okay, so it's important that the first thing to notice here is that that one note makes all the difference, right? The root and the fifth are the same. It's that third, whether it's major or minor, that's going to give the chord its entire flavor and function, okay? So that's the first thing I want to make sure is clear is that's how the 3 notes in a major or minor chord are determined. Now here's an important concept, is you can do this from any starting note, and you're going to follow the same formula and you'll get your chord. So another way to look at these same sort of the same information is let's replace C with the number 1. That's going to represent the sort of scale degree, right? So 1 is our root. So let's do, I'll just use I'll use any key. I'm going to use the E note. So E is our 1. If we go up 1, 2, 3, 4 notes, right? We have G sharp in this case. And then if we go up 7 notes from our 1, we get our fifth. So now we have a E major chord, right? Now, if that major third was, again, just a minor third, it was just 1 note less of a jump, we would get E minor. So 1, 3, and 5 are going to give you a major chord, and 1 and then a flat 3 and a 5 are going to give you your minor chord. And again, this is if we're using scale degrees. This is why I'm a big proponent and fan of using scale degrees, or at least being aware of them as a guitar player, because as you get into these theory concepts, this idea of scale degrees being consistent across all keys, no matter what key you're playing in, whatever your starting note is, if you go up a major third, right? Or in scale degree terms, if we call that a 3, and then we go up to the 5, and you play the 1, the 3, to 5 together, that's going to be a major chord, right? Likewise, a 1, a flat 3, and a 5. If 1 is your starting point, that's going to be your chord. It's going to be a minor chord, okay? So I want to make sure that's clear. Now, on the guitar, you might be saying, hey, if a major chord only has 3 notes, why am I playing 5 strings for a C major chord? And maybe for an E major chord, if it only has 3 notes, why am I playing 6 strings? Like, where are those extra notes I'm playing? I don't understand. You might be asking yourself that. I just want to explain this with guitar especially. So the main idea with how chords work is you need those 3 notes to get a major chord, but if you add additional versions of those notes, right? Like if you invite C and E and G over to a party, and then other C's and other E's and other G's come in the party also, it's still a big C major party, right? So on a guitar, the C major chord is 5 strings. We're gonna have 2 C's, right? On the 5th string and on the 2nd string, that's 2 C's. We're gonna have 2 E's on the 4th string and 1st string. and then we're going to have one G on the third string, right? You play it all together though, and you have a bunch of 1s and 3s and 5s. Or said another way, you have a bunch of C's and E's and G's, and you get that C major chord. Likewise, for the E major chord shape, 6 strings total, right? This one happens to have 3 different E's, right? E is our 1, right? On the 6th string, the 4th string, and the 1st string. We're going to have 2 B's on the 2nd string and 5th string. Okay, B is our 5, and then our 3, our major third, is going to be G sharp, which is on that 3rd string, right? So notice how with the C and with the E, and this is just 2 arbitrary chords, you know, the number of notes they have. E has 3 different 1s, right? And C has 2 different ones. It doesn't matter how many. As long as you have 1 of each, that counts. That's enough, right? You can have as many as you want after that, and it's still going to be the chord. But it doesn't matter whether a chord is 3 strings, 4 strings, 5 strings, 6 strings. As long as you have a 1, and 3, and a 5, it's a major chord, okay? I want to make sure that's clear for you on the guitar. Another thing really quick, while we're on this topic of major and minor chords, when you're learning guitar, I want you to look at the difference between your A and your A minor. These shapes of the chords, right? Our A, open, second, 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 open. And our minor is open, second, second, first, open. Notice the one note that's different in these 2 chords. If you had to guess, do you know what that note is? And I don't mean the name of the note, I mean the scale degree, right? I'll give you a hint. It's the 3rd, right? In the major chord, we have the 1, the 3, and the 5. In the minor chord, we have the 1, the flat 3, and the 5. And the way to tell which is the flat third versus the third is it's the note that moves in the major versus the minor chord. Okay, so on A, it's going to be this 2nd string note. This is our 3rd, this is our flat 3rd. Likewise for a D and a D minor, right? This note is a major 3rd, and this note's a minor 3rd. 2nd fret on the 1st string is our, it's an F sharp if you want to know. But again, I think seeing it as the major 3rd is probably more helpful. And then for the D minor, it's on that string, we're going down a half step. So that's our minor 3rd. All the other notes are staying the same. Those are our 1s and our 5s. Those are the same between all chords. You can see this also in an E and an E minor. It's all about that 3rd string. G sharp or G, right? Major 3rd or minor 3rd, okay? And then the other one I have here, just as an example, bar chord is B, right? This is our B major chord. This is our B minor chord. There's only one note that's different, and that note is a major 3rd in our B, and it's a minor 3rd in our B minor, okay? I just want to make sure that's clear. And I do have, a bunch of graphics showing you these concepts that are in my cheat sheet if you want to get that. And one other thing on this topic, when it comes to building chords, a very important thing is that the bottom note, the basemost note of the chord, right, the lowest in pitch note that we're playing for a chord should be the name of the chord itself, the note that the chord is named after, said another way. For example, right, if we look at an E, it's a bunch of 1s and 3s and 5s that make up this E, but the thickest note, the thickest string note that we're playing is a 1. Likewise for our A, 5th string, open is an A. That's the 1. That's the name of the note the chord is named after, right? Our D, 4th string is our bass note, and it's open. That tells us the 4th string is a D. This is a helpful way to learn the names of the strings actually on certain notes, is if you take any chord, right? You know this is a C, and you know from what I'm teaching you now that the bottom note in any chord is the name that the chord is given, right? So C major chord or a C minor chord, they have the same bass note. And what is this bass note? It is C, okay? This is the note C. Whether we use it to build a major chord or we use it to build a minor chord, this note is still C, okay? Really helpful to remember. For this chord, our G chord, so what's this note right here? This 3rd fret of the low E string. It's a G, because it's the lowest note in the G chord, right? So, and it's the same for our minor chords. E minor, right? A minor, and D minor, 4th string, okay? So that's a really helpful thing, just to number one, to understand that any chord, unless it's specified otherwise, the bass note of that chord is going to be the note that the chord is named after, okay? Now, there will be exceptions to this when we get to slash chords, like if you learn a D over F sharp, right? That over F sharp means, hey, play me a D major, right? But I want the bass note to be an F sharp. That's what a slash chord is. I'll talk about that in a future lesson, right? So in that case, we have a D chord, but we have an F sharp down here. Again, get this cheat sheet I have. It shows you these diagrams for all the open chord shapes, and you can see the intervals, or the more likely the scale degrees that are creating these chord shapes, right? You see the 1s and 3s and 5s, or the 1s, flat 3s and 5s, okay? So it's a really helpful thing to be aware of when it comes to playing chords, and I want to make sure you know about it. All right, so let's move on next into the circle of fifths, and I'm excited to talk about that. So I'll see you there.